Alright, you guys, welcome to the Hunger Games. No, I'm kidding. Late night book chats. I have read 19 books. What's been 2025 so far? That might be a lot for some people, that might be a little for some others. I want to give you a roundup of top 3 and bottom 3 of my reads. They're fantasy, romantasy, and romance. I'm gonna be giving first, second, and third place, and to the bottom ones, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Let's not make one of them feel worse than the other. We do this at night because I love reading at night. I feel like it makes it cozy. I've got the ambience going on. I've got my cup of tea. No one bothers me. And I'm just with you guys hanging out like we are in a sleepover. Also, I'm really curious to see if there's anything that you think I should have read already or I should be reading next. Please comment it down below. I swear I will read it. Maybe we'll even do a reading vlog of like the most voted book. I got my notes here, you guys. If you want to follow my reviews on real time, I'm on Fable and on Goodreads as well, so I'll link that down below. Let's start with the winner of the third place, and this is my dear Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This is the last book, the last series I finished. I should preface this by saying this is a trilogy. I'm ranking the whole trilogy in third place. I have another trilogy that's coming up in second place. Top book is a standalone book. Sorry about that, but I couldn't help myself. Like, I discovered Stephanie Garber this year, and that's been my best decision so far in 2025. I love how she writes. I love her storytelling. I love her imagination, her characters. I don't know what magic she has. Maybe she is Legend himself. Maybe she's a Fate. If you've read this book, you'll know. She made me love this series so much. And don't get me wrong, I will not stand any Caraval slander. If you've read this book and not Caraval, which is a trilogy that comes before this one, it's set in the same world. And it has characters from Caraval appear in this one, and then one of the main characters from this one comes from Caraval. There's this girl with a broken heart that goes and asks for a wish to unbreak her heart, to fix the situation that she's in. Makes a deal with a Fate, and a Fate in this universe is the closest thing to a god. It's not really a god, like a genie, you know, from a lamp. Everyone says never make a deal with a Fate because you never get what you fully ask for. They like to sort of trick people. They play with words. It's this vicious cycle of trying to fix your life because a Fate ruined it, basically. So everyone says don't ask a Fate for favors, don't do a deal, like don't make a deal with a Fate. She goes and does that, and basically everything unravels from there. I won't say anything else. I will say it has romance, it has suspense, mystery, it has betrayal, it has so many good things. I know I just said a bunch of bad things, but it has so many good things. And the female character, oh my gosh, I love her. On one hand, she's not perfect. She's very naive at times. Frustrated me so much, but I love her still. She's so soft-hearted. She's so selfless. The strongest, softest female main character I have read. I'm not gonna say anything else because I'm not spoiling it for you guys, but like my favorite book in the series was the second one, A Ballad of Never After. I gotta say, I love the play on words that Stephanie like does with the titles. She's playing with like happy ending usual sayings and quotes and twisting them, and that's exactly what like books feel like you really don't know if you're ever gonna have the resolution that you want. Only reason that you see me raving about this and putting them in third place, because even though I loved the ending, I did feel like we were left with more questions than we had at the beginning of the last book. Some questions were answered, some resolution was had, but there were a lot holes that I do think, if Stephanie continues this world, will be answered, hopefully. I'm hoping that is the case, and then this will move up in my ranking. Oh, I'm being perhaps basic in terms of like fantasy books, but I can't help myself. I have loved these. And the Cruel Prince trilogy by Holly Black. I have Wicked King here because this was my favorite in the trilogy. I loved this series. I know some people have like strong opinions about it for some reason. I don't know. I enjoyed it. The plot in a nutshell: 3 sisters are taken from the human world to the Fae world. Only one of them is Fae and the other 2 are human. So the story mainly revolves around the two human sisters that try to navigate and try to survive the Fae world. There's a lot going on. They're reaching a point in time where they either need to marry or become some sort of like impossible Fae ranking thing in society. High stakes here. Most Fae hate them because they don't like humans, cruel to humans. It makes for an interesting plot. First thing that came to mind that I told my friend about was, I know my 14-year-old self would have ate up this book. She was reading Hunger Games, she was reading After as well. And this is good because my older self by 10 years still enjoyed it and ate it up like I'm a 14-year-old girl. It kept me entertained, it kept me hooked, it kept me wondering and guessing. I enjoyed so much the political plotting, the scheming, so refreshing almost. I feel like it just added a different layer, so much more depth to a lot of the characters. In my opinion, it was so well done. It's YA. I forgot to say, the Once Upon a Broken Heart, Stephanie Garber is YA as well, and Holy Black is YA as well. Although you don't get straight up spies, I promise, it still fills your cup. I was giggling, I was kicking my feet under the sheets, I was having all the same reactions as I would have. Loved it. I was hooked. The mystery, the suspense, the villain, like the final villain, the final antagonist at the end of the series, I loved. Loved how they were done. I love their complexity, I love their layers. I don't know, I just feel like the characters were all so well done. I've been having grudges with literally people that only exist on paper. I felt like I was being personally attacked. I will say that I didn't love, there was a point where there was like miscommunication between the two romantic interests. I didn't love that. I usually don't love the trope of miscommunication, but just speak. Like, I would much rather them be separated by like one of them is being held captive or something like that. Like, I don't know, I prefer that separation. Why it didn't like lower its ranking is because it didn't last as long. A lot of books just drag on the miscommunication. You're like, you start getting bored. But there was a lot more going on, and like, you knew it was gonna be fine. But I didn't love that part. There are 3 books as well in the series, and I highly recommend that. Wicked King, which I showed you guys here, was my favorite, which was the second book. Maybe I just have a thing for second books. The reason why this series is ranked higher than the other one, because I gotta say, I loved the characters in both books at the same level of intensity. The plots are so different, the world is so different, but I love them the same. The main reason why Once Upon a Broken Heart doesn't have like second place tied with Cruel Prince is because Cruel Prince didn't leave me with as many questions as Once Upon a Broken Heart. Now, if you've been watching my reading vlogs for a while, you may already know this place. The top spot for 2025 so far, The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. I adore this book. This is a magical realism book. As the name suggests, it feels real, like part of the real world. It feels like the magic is a thing out of place. I'm sorry, I'm explaining the genre for some reason. But anyways, the top line for this book is that after her grandmother's death, June follows a series of clues that link her mother's disappearance to the town's dark history, the town that she lives in, the dark history of her town, and she just discovers a lot of secrets from her family and her history. I love this book, but like, the plot was so unique. Had you on the edge of your seat the entire time. Some minor things I will say I did see coming, but for the most part it was so satisfying. You were very surprised by like the plot twist. Like, you were as confused as June throughout the entirety of this book. It wasn't one of those books where you're like screaming at the character to do something, because I wouldn't even know what to scream. Like, I was just as thrown into the dark with her. The build up, the mystery was immaculate. It has a spice from what I can remember. It has romance, definitely. There is some tension. There's nothing lacking in this book, I promise you. What I will say that makes me like this book so much, as someone that is a romance junkie, I loved the depth in the relationships that weren't romantic in this book. Don't get me wrong, there was romance, and I love the romance as well. I love the male main character. I love June as well, but I love the male main character. But deeply entrenched loyalty. It was so admirable to see. It's one of those books, if you have troubled relationships with like close people in your life, people that should be your loved ones, family or close friends or anything like that, this book will really get to you. I don't know, I have no notes for the plot. I honestly loved it. I will say you need to be paying attention because there's a lot going on and a lot that you need to kind of keep track of to understand what's happening, but it's worth it. In no particular order whatsoever. Starting off with The Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. I'm sure I'm butchering her name, I'm sorry. It's rated so low because I loved the first book in this duology. It's a duology. This is the second book. First book is Crimson Moth for my UK girlies. Heartless Hunter for anyone else, like the US. Ate it up. I love that book. That's why this was rated so low, because I was expecting so much and it just let me down. I'm not gonna lie, it let me down. There is romance in this book. It's a big driver for the main plot, which I usually don't have an issue with. It was an enemies to lovers trope. If you read like the first book, that's like the main thing it's about. But I just felt like it was dragged on for too long. There was so many unnecessary back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and will they, won't they, will they, won't they. I got tired of it. To be honest, at that point, I just wanted the book to tie everything up, like let's wrap it up. I just felt a little disappointed. Mixed, because I feel like that part was dragged on, but then the plot itself felt rushed. But for the most part, it was easy to predict. I did like the characters, I will say that. I like the characters. And I like the idea of the storyline, I just didn't love the execution of it. We're moving into romance, and more specifically, cowboy romance. Sad to say, but like this year's Wild Side by Elsie Silver, I really did not love it. Like with her different series, there's always books that are hit or miss, because Elsie Silver writes a lot of cowboy romance, basically. They're all set in different villages, so the series follows a few main couples, main characters that get formed along the way. To be honest, in this particular town, Rose Hill series, I feel like I haven't clicked with a lot of it. I felt like it was rushed. It was very predictable. I also didn't love the female main character, to be honest. And sometimes I don't have an issue with that, but in these type of books, I feel like it does make it or break it. I also felt like the build-up for romance and the relationship was more engaging than the actual resolution. Resolved, I was kind of like, I did love the selflessness of the male main character. Love his heart, I guess, if that sounds so cheesy, but like, yeah, I love that. But at the same time, I wasn't really sold on his career, which is like a big part of the plot. And it sounds weird that I wasn't like sold on his career. Put me off a little bit. And I know on one hand, it's unique. I have never seen that career or anything like that in any other book. And to be honest, if the rest of the book felt more like my cup of tea, I could have put up with it. It was just like the cherry on top. I was like, it was a miss for me. Alright, and the final book that we're talking about today, and I will wrap this up because, yeah, for too long about the books that I love, faebound. This got me to say, because I was so excited for faebound. For me, this book felt flat. I appreciated the diverse representation of the characters, and I really liked some of the characters, but on that note, I felt like a lot of them were also so underdeveloped. Like, to be honest, I feel like just the main character was more developed, but like the other ones, it just all felt a bit flat, because even the world building, I didn't get fully hooked. It was lacking in my opinion. Everything felt very flat and like superficial. There was so much going on, but at the same time not enough. Like, I needed a bit more depth with a lot of characters and with a lot of like the storyline, and I just didn't have that. And also the predictions. There's a character here that has like a gift of divination and being able to predict things that are gonna happen and do readings. This was overdone. It made the entire plot super predictable for me. I felt like I knew what was gonna happen. It was like 10 chapters ahead of time because of these predictions, which the character actually took like those 10 chapters, but me as a reader already knew. I'm excited about that because I feel like divination and this sort of like predictions, when done well, are so cool, and I love that because they're like clues that you try to figure out, but that's the key thing, when you try to figure them out, not when you are able to put them together so easily. I feel like a lot of the plot twists fell flat because they didn't end up being plot twists, they were like plot predictions, and this was a shame. I was really excited for this one. That is it for my top not so top 125 read so far. If you guys like this one, I may do one at the end of the year, or I could do one next quarter. I don't know, depends how much I read, to be honest. Leave me a comment down below telling me what book I should read next, what series, trilogy, whatever it is, and comment down below what you're reading or what has been your top read for 2025. Maybe I will give that a go. And let me know if you agree as well with like my ratings, my rankings, all set in kindness. So yeah, love you guys, and I will catch you in my next one.